Just like the mobile revolution, we will actually reach a longevity revolution. Across age, we assume sugar of 120 to 160 is applicable to everybody around the world and across all age groups. What if it's not? Because environment plays a very big driver of aging, and it tends to dominate even your genes. And if you abuse your body, genes are not going to come to your rescue no matter what. Only one thing, interestingly, has been shown to extend lifespan. Doesn't matter which organism. It's just eating less calorie. That's it. So if you cut down your calorie, restrict your calorie, what your body demands, you tend to live long.
Hello there. Super excited that our very first video on Never Too Late is an interview with a person who's studying longevity and healthy aging in India among Indians. Do listen into my chat with the convener of IISC's Longevity India Initiative, Dr. Deepak Kumar Saini. So we spoke about the work that the initiative is doing and what it means for us, how this could result in new normal blood sugar or cholesterol levels for Indians, or how they're looking for an alternative, an Indian alternative to the Mediterranean diet. Also, how they are analyzing Indian anti-aging supplements. I also asked Dr. Saini what foods we should be eating to live longer and what does he do to extend his own longevity and health span. Make sure you watch this video and also show it to your friends and family. So let's start by talking about the Longevity India initiative itself. What are you trying to do with this? Are you trying to make Indians live longer?
So let's break the word longevity into two parts. First of all, when you look at dictionary, the word longevity actually throws up a meaning which says durability. But durability is not the word which we use for human being. We don't say you are a very durable human being. So we actually talk about that you look fit, that your vitals are great. So if we actually go by that definition, longevity is actually long vital. How long can you stay or maintain your vitality in life? And when we say vitality, which basically means, can I stay fit for longer? If I stay fit for longer, can I be in a state of a healthy individual that I don't have to worry about my medical conditions? And so Longevity India initiative is entirely based on that. When we say Longevity India initiative, it translates actually Ayushman Bharat, which is also a very interesting forum which government of India has launched. So the initiative main focus is, can I empower a clinician such that he can make a decision about your well-being, your health status, which allows you to stay out of hospital for a long time rather than in the hospital. So the best thing we can do for a country like India is give that knowledge which allows people to stay out of hospitals. So that is one way to reduce the burden on the structure. So that's what LII, Longevity India Initiative, aims to do.
In fact, that is very interesting because if you speak to a lot of people and you tell them, if you tell anybody aap 100 saal jiyoge, they'll be like, nahi chahiye, hospital mein nahi jeena hai.
Exactly.
So very, very interesting take on that. But also speaking specifically about lifespan, we know that the average lifespan, say in Japan right now, is around 85 years. But if you contrast that with India, we are still somewhere around 75 years. So what is it that is stopping us as Indians from living that long?
So the question is more societal rather than a demographic-based distribution. If you look at a country like India, which we still call ourselves as developing country, our priorities in life has always been, do I have enough food? That's one priority. Then second priority is, what is my rate of infection? How frequently am I going to fall sick? So that means our battles were very fundamental in nature with respect to biology. So poverty, hunger, and infection, and now little more recently, diseases like cardiovascular diseases, cancer, diabetes, are the major cause of morbidity and death in India. Countries like Japan have gone through that cycle way before us. So they are not worried about infectious diseases. They're not worried much about hunger. So of course, the average lifespan would be long. But that's a very simple giveaway from developed country point of view. And that's how it's going to be. So we are going towards it. We're going to reach it one day. And it's not going to be surprised we're going to be older.
One of the things that if you look at the longevity conversation also, is that it is largely limited right now to the super rich, to the so-called tech bros. So is this something that a person who is in a sustenance lifestyle, like you said, it is only after you get out of this can you start thinking about longevity? Is that what you're trying to say over here?
So the point is, I think the rate which India is growing right now, it's just fantastic. So that means very soon the problem which we talk about, infectious disease, good hospital, good healthcare system, and good nutrition. These problems which are being the dominant force in deciding our lifespan will actually have smaller and smaller contribution. Then ultimately it will burn onto what the West and the tech bros are facing is what is my lifestyle? What am I doing with my life, which is going to allow me to live longer, live healthier, more than longer, live healthy and long. And that's is going to happen very soon. So it's not going to be in the tech domain. I mean, if you look at few years back, give an example of a phone. These are multimedia devices like phones were there in the tech domain, the tech czars, the rich guys. Now they're in everybody's hand. And this revolution has happened very rapidly. It's very rapidly because right amount of investment, development, deep science has gone into it to make it accessible. I think we are at very interesting crossroads now. Crossroads where the West looks up to East for new raw talent, and we have the power of numbers in our favor. So if we make that investment now in this space, I'm sure, just like the mobile revolution, we will actually reach a longevity.
That's a very, very powerful comparison you're making over here, and very interesting also, because if, like you say, we can actually take longevity to every Indian, like, practically every Indian is walking around with a phone and an internet connection in their pocket. And this would be huge.
Yes. So the point is, how much can we contribute to for a common person in this initiative?
Now, I know that you're going to do this huge clinical study. So one is, what are your objectives with that study? What do you plan to do there? And the other question that I want to ask you is, do we really need a separate clinical study only for India and Indians? Can't we just take what has already been done and replicate it here?
Both a very interesting question. I'll start with the second one first. Why we should do it in India? You know about blue zones of longevity. They say 5 blue zones are there. People have done a lot of interesting studies about blue zones. What makes blue zone tick? They say diet, Mediterranean diet, exercise, sleep, nutrition supplements, and they also talk about societal interaction. In Okinawa, the blue zone, it was found the societal interaction really made the people live long for a healthy duration, for a long life. Indians are not neck deep, they're over the head with societal interaction. We are a societal, we are as a community, India is very, very ingrained into societal interaction. But if it is so true, where are our centenarians? Where are the people who live long for a very long time? We have the best ingredient, which has been said or championed about longevity, is society. We have it, but we don't live long. Indian diet is rich with natural products. We have not Mediterranean, but we have Indian diet, which are loaded with spices, which all apparently have positive effect on life. But again, where are the centenarians? So that means there is inherently the different drivers of aging which are there in India. And our societal, our genetics, our culture, our food habits, our environment, everything is different. That means we really need to look at India from an Indian perspective, Indian lens, not from the Western lens. We are a country which is based in the tropical region. We cannot get rid of infection from our system. We do not have a very cold winter where a lot of sterilization occurs, or very hot summers where most microbes die. We are in a temperate zone. A lot of infections can come very easily. We Indians love to get infected. It's like if you don't fall sick as a child 12 times a year, you're not okay. Indians fall sick very frequently because of infection. Their burden of infection is very high. Also, a lot of Western media or Western clinicians say chronically inflamed Indian. Now, what does it chronically inflamed Indian means? That by the Western standard, our inflammatory markers are high. But does it make that we are all sick? Also, all Indians are said to have vitamin D deficiency, high cholesterol, high blood sugar. That means that levels of various molecules in India are different from the Western system. We don't even know what is a normal in India for many parameters. We do not know what is fit and not fit.
So,
And
so,
first
so
thing
let
which
me
we
let
want to
me
do.
let me just
Yes.
interrupt you here and ask you something. Recently, there was a CSIR study, and what they found in that study is very interesting. That shoe sizes that are normally used the world over, you know, the US size, the UK size, etc., are not really made for Indians. In the sense, our feet
Yes.
sizes are very different. So
Yes.
they are now coming up with a Bharat standard for shoe sizes.
Yes.
Are you sort of coming up with a Bharat standard level for, say, cholesterol or blood sugar? Is that what you are trying to do with your research?
We are not trying to do just that. So let me clarify that. What you're saying is the Bharat standards of normative data will happen automatically from what we do. What we're also trying to do is the idea of sampling a large cohort. We are going to sample thousands of individuals and collect data across parameters which are clinically looked by clinicians very happily. So we are partners in a routine diagnostic company which is going to run all the parameters they routinely do. But we are also going to collect data which clinicians generally don't look into. I'm going to look at all the proteins which is there in your blood, all the metabolite which is there in your blood. I want to look at all the blood cells there. We're going to collect a large amount of data. And the intent of this data collection is, can I get enough data that tomorrow if I overlay this data with a sick person data, I can extract the features which can be used as indicator of sickness. And that's the idea. So idea is to define the baseline. And defining baseline is always very tricky because if you take data from clinic, you generally have data from sick people, people who are not healthy. Why would a healthy person go to clinic unless it's for insurance checkup? They do not do that. So, and that's been a biggest challenge for us. We are trying to collect healthy people, healthy population data at as many parameters as possible, which includes gut biome, which includes a blood cell profile, which includes their changes in their cells, blood protein, blood DNA. We're going to collect a lot of data and to see if the data tells us about progression of age for us. And that's the first project which we have taken up in this, define normative baseline value across age. We assume sugar of 120 to 160 is applicable to everybody around the world and across all age groups. What if it's not? What if it's not? That's what we're trying to define.
That's great. In fact, you know, there was the other thing when I saw the announcement about the Longevity India initiative, and I saw the kind of comments that were there that people had put in. A lot of people wanted to know how they could be part of this.
Yes. So right now, as I say, this is phase one. Phase one, we are pretty much doing a tightly controlled cohort. We are partnering with two major hospitals in Bangalore, and along with this hospital, we will also be reaching out to the rural settings because of less noise in the lifestyle of the rural people. We want to sample them first. Later part of the study, when we come with the second wave of the study, we will be including people as a part of the study. Now, the biggest challenge what we have is when you do this sort of study, I do not want to tell you what's wrong with you. I'm just doing a data collection by being agnostic, neutral. I'm not going to make a deduction about you. And it's very important because I do not want to put a fear in your mind. Because tomorrow my deduction could be wrong. My interpretation could be wrong. It's a continuously learning exercise. Today, a marker A, I think is telling me something about your gut or a liver or lung. Tomorrow, that marker may not be reliable because of a different population I examine. So when we're doing this data collection, we're not giving anything back to the volunteer. We're not telling them anything about how healthy, how fit you are, because that's wrong. We are going to take a completely agnostic view, completely data collection, data-centric view of collection. So if you want to become a part of our study, the way I see it is you can come and give us your sample and forget about it. That's how it's going to be. The only information which we'll collect from you is your age and a questionnaire about your lifestyle, your physiological features, your cognitive and your physiological function. We will not even take your name or anything. It's a completely a patient de-identified study. The only thing which matters is the age and gender. That's it.
Like they say in Hindi, neki kar darya mein dal.
Exactly. So it's pretty much in that domain. Yes, so one thing which is the biggest challenge is when you do such large data collection, I mean, all of us have gone through this blood test in a clinic, and we know how expensive they are. And remember, the more number of tests you go, the more expensive it becomes. So it's a very resource hungry initiative. The kind of data collection which we're doing, we're involving clinical teams who will spend time and assess you. We're involving labs which is going to assess n number of biochemical parameters. We're involving labs which is going to do completely anonymized, completely unbiased data collection. So we're going to spend a huge amount of money per individual. If you ask me, do we have resources for that? No, but we are quite hopeful that as this initiative grows, we will have people supporting us in various forms, and we will take it to the level where we want it to be. So it's a societal cause. It's not us. The data which we collect, as soon as it is collected and curated and it's of value, we will put it on a public portal. We are not going to keep the data. It's not a commercial enterprise we're running. It's actually an open initiative where we're going to empower clinicians, researchers in very different ways.
But in fact, there is already another longitudinal study on aging that is underway in India, the LASI.
LASI, yes.
So will you be collaborating with them at some level?
We have to explore collaboration with LASI. One thing is they are doing longitudinal. What we are doing cross-sectional. That means we just sample a large number of people and we assume, or rather it's actually reason to believe it will work, because you sample a large number, you don't have to study people as they go through their aging. So if you just sample large enough numbers, you don't have to worry about the T or the time parameter. LASI does take care of a lot of socio-economic, societal, cognitive analysis. What LASI lacks is the biological granularity, biological details, which we would like to collect in our study. LASI collects like 5 to 6 biological parameters, which is your serum cholesterol, vitamin D, glycosylated hemoglobin. These are very, very low hanging parameters. They don't tell me much, but they're just there because we can. So we have to think beyond what LASI can do. We can work with LASI. We can actually do our sampling along with LASI. But what we need is more data collection in terms of quality and quantity. And in modern world, as of in the AI era, data is the king. Those who have the data are taking the calls. So that's the idea that with a right type of AI machine learning tools, which we have built in our program, because it's not easy to handle such large data set by few individuals who are biologists by training. So the data scientists who are involved, who will make sense of this large data and try to come up with much more data-driven decision-making process.
Okay. What about Indian systems of medicine like Ayurveda? Will that be part of, will that also be something to look at?
But there's another project which we're doing on the side, it's a second project, where we're trying to debunk the myths surrounding anti-aging, supplements available in the market. You open any company webpage, there's a one list of 100 different molecules or compounds or preparation which are anti-aging. Nobody knows they work. Nobody knows they don't work. So we are trying to systematically investigate all these molecules in our specific organ system aging models, which we have in IISC, to see if they work or not. And in this process, we are seeking active collaboration with Ayush people also. If they would like to test us some of their formulations or preparations, or even active ingredient from natural formulation, like urolithin coming from pomegranate. We are very happy to test those things. Hyaluronic acid, resveratrol. Do they work or they don't work? So we are going to work with them. We have people from Transdisciplinary University, which is largely a natural school of natural platform for healing medications. They are part of this initiative. We will work with them when we reach the juncture of testing the efficacy of various natural things. So yes, we cannot debunk or say, natural system which is popular in India does not work. There is no evidence that it does or it does not. And we want to bring that evidence to them.
So is this something that you've already started or you will be starting soon?
Some members of our team have already started looking at some of the natural molecules in their model systems, and we will be taking some more in future.
Okay. I know you mentioned a lot of partners. You do have industry partners as well. So what will their role be over here? Will they also be involved in, probably scaling up the solutions that you come up with?
Absolutely. So one of the easiest way to look at if we find something new, can we develop it as a rapid test, a rapid assay, which clinicians can use? So yes, one of the easy intent is to use that information, give a clinician a new test, new panel of tests to work with. But also industry will also bring new technology. Let's see, we have always been doing clinical investigation with the tools which are available to us. Industry always have much more modern tools to address the same old problem. We are collaborating with industry to bring those tools to us so that we can, one, uh, do our experiments with lesser resource, with lesser time, with a faster turnaround time. And that's more sensitivity. So sensitivity, specificity, and also adaptability is what industry is going to bring to us. And that's why a lot of industry people are bringing their technologies and giving us access to that at a very reasonable cost, and some have even offset their costs. And that's the idea here.
Great. You mentioned Ayushman Bharat, and obviously, an endeavor of this scale and the kind of research findings will probably come out with it. All of that will make sense only if there is some policy backing. So, how will you be engaging with the government?
So it's an interesting point. Short answer to that is let us generate data. I think the data speaks volumes by itself. We have always seen that. Mobile phone penetration was one proof that if you have enough data to show that mobile is actually useful, the technology follows suit and the policy follows suit. The UPI is a classic example. When we saw masses adapting to UPI because it was ease of implementation, the policies worked around it. So I think what we have to do, we have to deliver what we are aiming to achieve. And once we have put our document, our findings out there, I'm sure policies will work and change around.
Right. And that brings me to the second part of the interview as such, where I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, which, people are asking about longevity and health span and all of that. One, of course, is the big question is whether longevity is hereditary. If my parents or grandparents say only live till their 60s, does that mean I'll also live only till 60, or can I actually try to do something to live longer?
So it's a very interesting point. People have found genetic association for short-lived people. I mean, progeria, accelerated aging. There are very clear genetic associations with them. In certain studies which people have reported, they have shown certain gene association to be responsible for longevity. However, there is no clear factor because environment plays a very big driver of aging, and it tends to dominate even your genes. And if you abuse your body, genes are not going to come to your rescue no matter what. But at the same time, genes can, make it better if you take care of your system very well. I'll give a very poor example. You have a high-end vehicle and you abuse it, it's going to die no matter. But if you have a low-end vehicle and you maintain it, it's going to run long. But if you have a high-end vehicle and you maintain it better, it's going to run even longer. So genes add up to the aspect of long life, but they are not the only drivers.
So, a counter question that I have over here, I'm in my 40s. I mean, I've not really lived the most healthy life possible. I have, worked those 14, 15-hour days. I have had the occasional drinks. I've gone out partying. I live in a polluted environment. And I've not really been eating healthy. I've started doing that now. But is it too late, or can we still do something to increase our health span?
So it's a very interesting question. Fantastic question, actually. A lot of people in the world are actually trying to make this anti-aging. We call them senolytic, senotherapeutic, xenomorphic drugs, different classes of drugs. And the question always asks is, how much and when? When do I start? When do I start giving it? And how much should I take it? Because every individual is different. You cannot tailor make a single dose for everybody. So not a single molecule in that class has been successful till now. Trials are going on, and the simple reason is because of so much diversity is there, so much of noise in the system. So the answer is whether there's going to be one single change in your lifestyle is going to make you live longer. The answer is no. It's more of a holistic healing. So if you ask two individuals or any two individuals at random, what do you think is responsible for long life? It's hardly possible that 10 people sampling in random will not come with 10 different answers because and none of them are wrong. The reason being all the 10 factors do contribute, whether it is what you eat, whether how you sleep, whether how do you interact with people, how much stress you handle, where do you live, what is your exercise regime, what kind of exercises do you do? Everything is going to have an impact. So the point is, when do you begin? I think any day is better than not doing it ever.
So you're saying that if I make a lifestyle change, even in my 40s,
Yes, it should have an impact. Yes, it's an impact, right? So even if you start taking care of your vehicle, even if it's creaking, we start taking care, it actually keeps running. You know where the flaws are, you know where the sounds are coming from, but you learn to live with them. At the same time, you just make sure it doesn't get deteriorated any further. That's a simple idea. So any time is a good time than never doing it. But is it going to be sufficient? It may not be, but that cannot be a reason of not doing it.
Okay. So again, another controversial question. What should we eat to live longer?
Very interesting question, and I don't have a clean answer. Mediterranean diet says eat lots of fruits, lots of green leafy vegetables, lot of colored fruit, lot of olives is going to make you live longer. Japanese say eat a lot of fish, a lot of greens is going to make you live longer. So there's a lot of diversity. But clearly, anything which gets rid of free radical distress in your body could be phytochemicals, so plant-based things is always a good idea.
Right.
Only one thing, interestingly, has been shown to extend lifespan. Doesn't matter which organism. It's just eating less calorie. That's it. So if you cut down your calorie, restrict your calorie, what your body demands, you tend to live long. And that comes from body cleansing itself and trying to live. And that's the only evidence which we have as of now.
So this is something that Indians, of course, do. I mean, they've been doing it for generations. We
Yes.
all have our fasts and our feasts. I mean, if we forget about the feast, but fasting is something that is inherent to India.
Yes.
So does that help?
Again, unless we have scientific backing to say does it help or not, I would not be able to say. But evidence says that if you do caloric restriction, it helps. Whether fasting helps or not, I will not put my foot on there because we do not honestly fast most of the time. Our fast ends up with a feast. How much value does it have? So unless it's somebody systematically examines physiological features, parameters during fasting or after the fasting or before fasting to see if there is a increase in quality. I'm sure somebody would have done it, but at least I'm not aware of that study. But it is something which can be done to examine if there is a value in fasting. Remember anything, you accelerate and deaccelerate rapidly. You go through these oscillatory cycles. It's never a great idea. No matter whether you're a human being or a bicycle, it's going to break down. But leaving it steady. So moderation is the key. You don't feast, you don't fast. You retain the in between.
Right. You also mentioned the Mediterranean diet and how you all are looking to find an Indian alternative to it. But are there any specific food items within the Indian diet that you would sort of say is good if you want to live a long, healthful life?
Again, this is out of my domain, so I would not comment on it because what you need is a nutritionist who actually looks at the composition analysis of Mediterranean versus Indian diet. But I think an Indian diet is very rich. Rich in the sense, not in terms of calories or things, rich in the sense we have enough diversity of food, which is available to us. So there's nothing which is that Indian diet is not as good as Mediterranean diet. We are not comparing that. We have so much difference in varieties and difference in the geographical locations that our food habits will be different. I'm sure there are enough options are available to Indians which are as good as the Mediterranean. Somebody just needs to examine and explore what are the best alternatives available to us. So we can't be eating olives.
Right. You also mentioned blue zones when we were speaking earlier.
Yes.
Are there any pockets within India that you are interested in studying more closely, where you think that there could be like a potential blue zone?
Right. So the intent of our study is not to find those blue zones, but to see that what prevents it from reaching this blue zone. So it's a slightly different viewpoint. So there are many places in India. Mysore in Karnataka has 1,700 plus centenarians. Actually, overall, Karnataka has 17,000 centenarians as per the last census. I hope my information is right, but that's what the number was. Um, but that shows that the centenarians are everywhere. Are they in one particular pocket? Again, not something I'm aware of, but there are no clearly defined zones which say the people of this area live. We have not done that systematic analysis yet. Somebody might have done, but at least I'm not aware of it, that information, but it needs to be done. But again, we are not going there because we can find centenarians everywhere. And what we want to do is to sample them. So it doesn't matter where they come from.
Another question that we see, I mean, if you look around, mobility is one of the biggest issues that we see among the older Indians. Now, what can we start doing today? I mean, for people in their 30s and their 40s, is there something that we can do to ensure that we stay mobile even as we age?
Actually, the answer lies in the immune system for a very long time. And the answer to mobility is suppleness. How supple are we? And suppleness comes from stretching your muscles. Going to gym, burning out, doing an intensive cardio is not something which everybody would like to do or can do. But keep yourself body supple by doing yoga, stretching is something which keeps us active. It was there in our system for a very long time. It's just that our lifestyles have changed so much that we don't put emphasis on stretching out that much, keeping ourselves supple. I think that should be sufficient to keep us mobile. Now, other thing which we talk about is why the old people have these mobility issues. I think a lot of the mobility issue comes because of fear of our the current older population, and they were younger, to go to hospitals because unfortunately, that stage of our healthcare structure infrastructure was not that great. So while they had injury, they had fall, they would not get the right kind of care which was needed. So if you end up detecting, diagnosing, curing mobility issue early on, I think you should be fine at a later stage. We just need to address the problem at the right time. We leave it. It's like we say in Hindu, we let it Hindi, we let it become a nasur. It just keeps growing inside you. Then it's actually going to impair your mobility. We should not allow that. That should be the main.
Right. And final question, you have been working in the field of longevity for a long time. What do you personally do to extend your own
If you
span
look
and
at me, I
longevity?
don't look that I'm young. I have gray hair and I'm not that old. But my main interest was longevity is not just about myself, but what do? I'm a conscious eater. I'm a very conscious eater. I do active calorie restriction. I love to binging on fruits and vegetables. And I believe in brisk walking more than anything else, brisk walking and stretching more than burning my food in the gym. Because I feel, I mean, it's a poor analogy, but I've never seen an elephant or a tortoise do an exercise. They tend to live longer than a horse or a dog or a mouse, which are constantly in motion. They're constantly doing a cardio. They never live long. So how slow you can make your metabolism? In a sense, you breathe less, you burn less. You burn less, in a sense, if you eat less, you don't have to burn. You cannot slow down your breathing completely. So in the Indian system, the people who lived in mountains, lives in caves, lived on arms, were sages, they live long. We don't need too many evidences in the system. It is there. So this cycle of restricting what you eat, watching what you eat, mindfulness about your surrounding and what you consume, what yourself is what is probably going to make us healthy for a long time.
It's interesting how you drew on a very Indian example of the tortoise and the elephant to to kind of explain your secrets to longevity over there, and it's also very very rooted in our ethos, and I
Yes.
think Yeah, I think in that sense, it's a great note to end this conversation on.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much, Dr. Saini.
Thank you.